I see you can just look at Bradley Grobler there and see that, dreams dashed. Some of these players, it was going to be their first or their only World Cup, which is never going to happen. But I mean, before I go into that, I think we need to speak to someone who has experience playing at the World Cup, who has experience scoring goals in a World Cup qualifier, who actually took Bafana to the 1998 World Cup. Phil, welcome.
Well, thank you for having me in your show.
I'm not going to beat about the bush. I'm not going to, give you a whole lot of things. What did you make of Bafana failing to make it to Russia?
It was a hard one. The two losses we had against Cape Verde, that was when our ship was sinking. I think if we could have done better on those two games, we'll be in a better position in terms of qualifying. Now, playing against Senegal and hoping that we'll get 6 points from Senegal, it was one impossible route to take.
But I mean, what do you think was the main mistake that we committed against Cape Verde when we lost those two games?
I think we just had a new coach, Stuart Baxter, and he was trying to instill his philosophy into players and then trying to make sure that he gets his team right. And if you look at our group, both Burkina Faso and Senegal never lost against Cape Verde. It's only us, South Africa, we lost against them. And the past two games that we played, actually, against Burkina Faso and Senegal, I think our players played better. And even if we've lost against Senegal now at home, I think if we could have converted 2 goals that we missed first half or 3 goals that we missed first half, the game could have been different.
But Phil, let's look at the group. Right now, Bafana are at the bottom. You're talking about the other 2 teams having not lost to Cape Verde. We are the only ones who have lost to Cape Verde. Does that mean we are the worst? I mean, mathematically, when you look at everything else, we are the worst in the group. But when you look at this and your assessment, do you feel Bafana are the worst team in that group?
I don't think we're the worst. I mean, it was part of are we well organized as a team prior to the game against Cape Verde. And I think if we were well organized, I wouldn't think we could have lost those 2 games. Probably we could have lost 1, win 1 at home.
And there's a big issue that's going on around the country, Phil, about young players, because you look at Brazil, they've got your Neymar, your Gabriel Jesus, young players carrying the flag for Brazil. Nigeria, you've got your Kelechi Iheanacho, they're coming into the team doing great things. In South Africa, we take too long. And Pesita only got to play, 3 matches in this qualifying campaign or 2. What do you make of that? Do we take too long? Do we, can we still trust in these, older players?
I think for now it was important for Stuart Baxter to bring in experience into the team because we thought that we can sneak into the World Cup. And after the game on Tuesday in Senegal, I think we have to change our attitude and ways of doing things. Probably start using these young boys going forward, because if you look at Pesita now, he's only 23 years old. By the time Qatar World Cup comes, he'll be 28 years old. He'll be one of the senior players in the team. Then we need to start playing younger players. I mean, I've seen Venezuela, when they were aware that they're not going to qualify for the World Cup, they started using their junior teams.
And but from here, where do we go as the national team?
I think we should have a plan of 5 years now, from now on until 2022.
2022.
Yes.
And for players like your Morgan Gold, your Spio Chabalala, in the near run, maybe thinking about the Africa Cup of Nations as well, do we still continue to pick them?
No. I'll stick with younger players, even if I don't qualify for Africa Cup of Nations. But my focus will be the World Cup in 2022.
And I want to ask you, because in 98, you guys managed to qualify. Now, we haven't had a team, I think, since 2002 to qualify for the World Cup. What do you think the team that you played in, and I'm going to assume maybe the team of 2002 had the same thing, but what is it that the current team doesn't have that you guys had?
I think there's a lot of changes into the team. Prior to 96, if you look at the team that played in 1996 final, I think 96% of it is a team that started with the national team in 1992 when we started. And there was a consistency in terms of selection of the players. That's what we need. But, Clive was aware as well that he had a big pool of players during those times. I mean, you had your Poland Lanya was at his top of the game as a striker. You had Mambosh, who was on top of his game. You had Jerry Skosana, who was on top of his game. But we're not part of the national team. Then it was easy if somebody get injured. Clive knew that I'll easily go and get Jerry Skosana, or I'll easily go and get Poland Lanya.
I'm going to throw two last questions to you, Phil. The first one is going to be, about when you look at this team, when you look at Stuart Baxter, after what happened, do we continue with him? Or should we maybe think of new ideas?
I think he needs to be given a chance, honestly, because now you wanted to fix a car that was unfixable at the time, but he tried actually so far because he managed to win against Burkina Faso. But the worst thing that happened for him, it was losing against Cape Verde. But it was at the beginning of his contract.
Okay, just one last there, Phil. I don't know if it's an excuse. I don't know if it's a genuine, issue. People are saying that Senegal had players who are playing in the Bundesliga, in the English Premier League. Some are in the, your big leagues in, around Europe. South Africa doesn't have those players that are playing in the big leagues in Europe. Is that the reason why maybe we're failing to beat these kind of teams?
Somehow you can say that because most of our players are comfortable here at home. They're earning good monies. And, going to Europe is not about only earning money. It's all about competing with the best in the world. And then if we can see more of our players having contracts in overseas, that will be good. I mean, I would like to see Percy Tau getting a contract overseas because I think it's been brilliant for Sundowns for the past 2 seasons. Now, he needs to go. What more to win here in Africa? He won Champions League. He's been nominated twice for Player of the Year in Africa. Then what more he wants? He needs to go out there and compete with the best in the world.
No problem. Thank you for your time, Phil. We hope, those who make the decisions are listening to what you are saying. Well, that was Phil Masinga, a former Bafana striker. He scored that goal against the Congo that took Bafana to the 1998 World Cup. I'm going to bring the chat to the studio now because we've got a professional player and an analyst. And Thokozani, I hope it's not a curveball. I'm going to start with you.
Yeah.
The last answer that Phil gave about South African players not going overseas because the money is good here, the players here are comfortable. You play football here. You play for Mamelodi Sundowns. Is this a good representation of what exactly is happening?
Well, I feel like as South African footballers, maybe we tend to be too comfortable.
We're happy, everything is nice.
Yeah, because I feel like we need to challenge ourselves, and try to be like other African countries and go overseas and, compete against the best, And I feel like we're also letting ourselves down by not qualifying for World Cups and stuff like that to show our talent. Because that's where you normally showcase your talent, and at the same time, South Africa will be known for playing good football and whatnot. So it makes it harder for teams in Europe to actually see us and have confidence in us if we're not qualifying for the World Cup, if we're not qualifying for African Cup of Nations and stuff like that, because we do have good players, definitely, no doubt. So then I feel like we're letting ourselves down by not qualifying, so we don't have the opportunity for them to actually see us.
But how do we change that mentality of South African players saying, I'm earning good money here, I'm close to my family, I'm playing for Mamelodi Sundowns, the Kaizer Chiefs and Orlando Pirates. I'm a star here, I'm a superstar. Everywhere I go at the malls, people, they say hi to me and all this kind. How do we change that mentality?
Well, I'll go back to us. I think it all starts with the country. If we can push that, and get to a stage where we're winning things and where more people are seen and going overseas, I think we'll be more hungry and see that, it's easier, because we don't have a lot going that side. It's only 1 or 2,
And some go there, they're on the bench.
Yeah, you see. So I think it starts with the country and the national team, where we just need to start winning things so that we can get more exposure to people in Europe, and they can start looking into us and actually wanting to sign us.
Sim, let me bring you into the discussion. Bafana failed to qualify. Everyone is blaming the Cape Verde game. But can we only look at that match? Can we also look at Stuart Baxter? Because one of the things that was mentioned, that he mentioned at the press conference, you know, he without saying it in so many words, he said he did not have a mandate to qualify for the World Cup. Can that be right?
Well, if you look at, I think, the whole Bafana campaign after the Senegal win, we always going to have problems because Sheikh Mashaba was fired. Now you've changed, you've got a new coach, and it took how many months to get a new coach? While other teams had a coach, they had a settled team. Now Stuart Baxter needs to come in. First game is against Cape Verde away. You're playing an AstroTurf. He's going to try and play a different way to Sheikh Mashaba. Now the players need to get used to him. He needs to identify the players he wants to play with. And then we lose away from home. And then we come home, we play the Islanders, Cape Verde, take them to Durban. They're having a good time. They're used to sea level. Why can't you take them to Johannesburg or Polokwane or something like that? And then there's a South African mentality as well that comes to mind when we're playing the so-called smaller nations. We don't live up to those games. The players just don't seem to.
Because I mean, with that game, if I can interject, people were saying they were already looking forward to Senegal and Burkina Faso, thinking those two games are won.
People were saying that against Cape Verde, those are 6 points. Those are the 6 points that are going to take us to Russia. And players took that mentality and didn't play in the day, and we got punished. And so, besides those two games, the whole campaign from the firing of Sheikh Mashaba, I'm not saying he was going to do a better job than Stuart Baxter, but if you don't have a coach for so long and you take so long to hire a new coach, you're going to have problems. You can't chop and change coaches during a qualifying campaign. It never works.
Do you feel Sheikh Mashaba should have stayed on?
I feel he should have stayed on. I'm not saying he might have done a better job, but I feel like if they wanted to discipline him, let him finish out his tenure, and then if they're not happy with him, then somebody else must come in. That's how I feel, because you can't chop and change coaches during a qualifying campaign.
TK, there's this thing that Phil also spoke about, that we always speak about, because I made a comparison with, you know, your Nigeria with Kelechi Iheanacho. You look at Brazil, they've got your Gabriel Jesus, they are part of the national team. You know, those are, you know, your 19-year-old, 20-year-olds. In South Africa, that hardly ever happens. Mochega Marisha was your teammate, you know, they're still saying he needs to develop and things like that. Pesitau won the African Champions League, but, you know, it was difficult to throw him in. Is that another problem that we have in South Africa, where we rely, you know, heavily on older players, as if to say older is better? Because some coaches are saying if you are good enough, then you're old enough.
No, well, I've always had the problem that, you know, they say like our younger players don't have experience, but then I ask myself, how are they going to gain the experience if they don't actually play?
True.
You know, because I always thought Pagamani, Mahlambi, he's got a lot of potential. And, you know, if you throw him in the deep end and help him, and then, you know, you never know what's going to happen. I feel that's the only way you can gain experience. You know, and I feel like in a national team or in any team, you need to find a good balance of experience and young players. You see, so I feel like we do fail on that side, you know, to get the younger players in at an earlier stage. You know, we need to believe in our younger players, because that is the future, you know. And the only way, like I said, is to play them. For them to gain experience. Okay,
Sim, I'm going to wrap this Bafana discussion, because I want to speak to Thokozani about his move to Sundowns. In terms of Bafana, Safa, they came out. It's never their fault. It's never their mistake. They sent out a statement there, all happy. They're thinking everything is fine. They beat Burkina Faso. They beat Nigeria. That's what they mentioned in that communique. They don't even apologize for the fact that you know, Bafana did not qualify. Is it time that we blame Safa as well for you know, there has to be something they're not doing right?
No, they need to take the blame. They are the custodians of our football in South Africa. They need to take the blame. We cannot we cannot go on like this every year. We celebrating beating Nigeria once off. We celebrating beating Burkina Faso. We sounded like a mediocre nation. And Bafana 1996 were African champions. Now we're nowhere near. We can't even qualify for. When was the last time we qualified for a tournament? They need to come up with ideas, plans, because they've told us about development. Where is the development? Where are the players that are coming through that they told us about? Told about Vision 2022. Yes, it's good to name these phrases and talk about them, but when it's actually time to make things happen, it doesn't happen. So they need to take accountability for this, and it's really disappointing that our organization as big as SAFA is not taking responsibility for Bafana because we're in shambles.
Because the players are there. You've got your Luther Singh, they're in Europe. Hashim Domingo is in Europe. Pesitao is here, Mjaka Madisha. The list just goes on and on. Pagamani Matlambi is playing for Al Ahly. But it's fine. We're going to leave Bafana for now because that's depressing. I mean, listen to me. I sound like someone who's hungry. Okay, let me just change gears. I'm going to talk to this man. You joined Mamelodi Sundowns, Thokozani.
Yes.
You happy?
Yes, I'm
the happiest man ever,
no,
I'm guessing.
Yes.
Now, a few matches, Sundowns loses match number 1, number 2, number 3. What is a dream is slowly looking like something else. How do you... And at that time, if I may add, you were struggling to score your first goal for the club. How do you now, get yourself in that zone where you don't think, everyone is looking at me, I'm making mistakes, you beat yourself about everything else, and you don't focus on what you must do? How do you keep yourself, in that zone?
Well, football is a mental game, so I feel like you just need to, focus on being positive, because at the end of the day, you're going to make mistakes. At the end of the day, you're going to get pressure. At the end of the day, things are going to happen. You just need to learn to forget about it and carry on, because it won't help you to dwell on such things, because it is my career and I want to do well, and I know my abilities and the team knows its abilities, So you just got to take each day as it comes, because Sundowns were doing great, We were doing very well. We lost a few games. It's not over, we're still a long way to go. So, things could change anytime.
In years gone by, and I think even now, when a player signs for Sundowns, the question is, are you willing to take that risk? Because they've got big strikers, good strikers, and all these things. Did you get those questions? Did you, when you got that call, when you got that contract, sit and think, am I making a good mistake, a good move here, or am I making a mistake?
Well, I never even thought of it making a mistake, I knew it was a risk, for my career, but...
One you were willing to take?
One I was definitely willing to take, because, you could only get one opportunity, You never know when you'll get it again, And personally, I wanted to challenge myself, And you need to play against the best to be the best, and compete against them, and you can learn a lot from them. So I took it in that perspective as, let me take this and use it to motivate me and help me.
How did you feel? Because Sundowns fans, I know they've always been behind the team, but some, were calling for Pitso Mosimani's head and things like that. At that time, you were having your own challenge. I mean, I know that you're part of the team, but a striker's job is to score goals. You get there, you're struggling to score. Now that goal finally comes. How do you feel with that? Does it now rejuvenate you?
Well, definitely. I feel like it gives you that sense of confidence that, you can do it, because you're trying to prove yourself, you're trying to do well, and it's something that I've been doing. So getting that goal kind of relieves you and gives you that confidence, to keep going, and gives you that momentum.
Sim, let's talk Sundowns, you and I. They're coming back, they are not in a good space, they're going to face Vets, the defending champions. The last year they went to Vets there, they lost 1-0. And I think that is, part of where they lost the league. They're going to go there after the international break. Your expectations there?
It's going to be an interesting one. What a way to
open. Don't give me an answer of these guys, especially these guys after the match, or you want a preview, they're like, it's going to be a tough game, all these games, 30 PSL games.
No, give me a chance, I wanted to quote Coach Pitso. He said, I think the last game they played, I think they won, if I'm not mistaken. He said that he gave his brother Steve a reliever, and now he also got a reliever. So I think the international break was good for him. So he'll be hoping for a reliever going into the Vids game. But both teams are going to be looking to really resurrect their
their
seasons.
form,
Yeah, because they've had stuttering seasons. But you expect a team like Sundowns to come back firing because they're a star-studded team. They're a team that's got pride. They want to fight back. They want to show that it's just a slump. All great teams go through slumps, but it's how you come back from those slumps that shows that makes the difference between a good team and a great team.
Thokozani, just one last from me, before I let you guys go. You've got the Vets game coming up.
Yes.
You guys are not doing well. This man has mentioned everything about that. But also, this is the team that took the title from you guys. Is there more into this match? Because it looks like the league this day it's Sundowns. Chiefs haven't been doing that well. There's Sundowns, there's Vets. Does it add more flavor, more spark to this encounter?
Well, definitely. They are the title holders, and they took it from Sundowns, by a game or so. So obviously, it's a grudge match. And both teams, like we said, they're not doing well. So it's also about pride. So for me, it's a very big game for both teams, to actually pick up, and especially coming from a win, it would be good for us to get that consistency and get another win.
No problem, guys. Thank you for joining us. Okay, you're still watching Weekend Sport. I'm still your host, Maskepe Matsibane, and like we do it here at home all the time, we talk to musicians, we talk to producers, comedians, and everything else. Today, I've got a man. He comes here with some vintage stuff. I think I'm going to need a spanja as well. Look at this guy. Okay, I'm going to start. For those who don't know this man, I'm going to ask this man to introduce himself and what he does.
Well, the name is Terrence McKay, an old soul in a young man's body. The original R&B, Kuma Kenkes coach, sweet Omnando, sweet Doingan, Mr. Nice Guy. I'm so nice when I smile my teeth shine.
Okay,
no lie.
You can hear this man is nice, this man is smooth, and all these things. Okay, the first thing we're going to ask you here is, do you support any sport? Have you played any sport?
I actually have played a lot of football growing up.
Yeah, but this guy doesn't look like a football player.
Serious. I played a lot of football growing up, and I do support a club in South Africa.
Which one?
Mapagani.
Orlando Pirates?
Yeah.
But they're not winning.
Don't worry. It's coming.
Okay. It's going to come. But in terms of music journey, when does it start? Where are you now?
It started all in 2009, and where I am now is 7 years later, making great music along the sides of Romeo here.
Romeo. Okay. Well, I'm glad this guy didn't act like a politician and say I started making music when I was 9 years old, because I don't think he would have known anything at that point. But it's fine. Me, Maskepe Matsibane, the rest of the team, we're going to say hi, Bebo Rogo. But for you guys at home, this man is going to close the show for you. Okay, let's take it home.
Let's do it, baby. Mr. Nice Guy, I'm so nice when I smile my teacher.